I was wondering, how much do you want to cross-train your guys, and how is it different than having a normal spring and being able to do more of that back then compared to trying to fit in preseason?
Well, you have to. Even if you look at NFL rosters, they don't carry that many active. You got to have guys that can play multiple positions, and also be able to keep your best players out there regardless of position. So we got some guys going guard, tackle, center guard, just to be able to always give the best guys the chance for us to be successful on the field, and not just saying, hey, the right tackle's down, you just put up whoever is the right tackle on the depth chart. You put the next best football player in the game.
Next will be Ira Schofield from Warchat.
Hey, Coach.
What's up, Ira?
How you doing?
Good, brother.
Hey, how were the guys able to come together during the quarantine? I mean, I imagine you guys were constantly in contact in meetings, even though they weren't necessarily personally all together, physically. Did you feel like that time was a time to build some bonds, even so?
Well, yeah, our guys have gotten really close knit, and I believe that just because for a while there, when they came back and did the voluntary workouts together, and we had all the Zoom meetings, that's all they really were around, and not being around the normal students on campus, and some of them couldn't go home because of the virus and impact and things like that. So I believe, the continuity and the relationship off the field is just as important on the field, and I believe they've done a good job.
Next will be Kurt Warner from the Democrat.
Hey, how's it going, Coach?
Hey, how's it going?
We've heard a lot about the Zoom, and you kind of had to do a lot of concept speaking over Zoom during all this because of separation of everybody. I guess how have you seen that in times that everybody's kind of getting back together, translate to on the field?
Got you. You kind of went in and out. Can you ask that one more time? I couldn't really hear the end of it. I'm sorry.
We've heard a lot about the concept training with Coach Gravel's offense. You kind of use that as a Zoom because everything's part of the offseason. How have you seen that translate and the retention of that translating since you've gotten them back in the field?
Coach Norvell does a good job of the whole offense, and the team seeing the big picture, and not just running plays or just to run plays for the why, but to learn the why you run the play, or the why situational awareness. So it gave us time to really explain those things in detail, which usually you kind of do in camp, or you do in situational in the spring, but we had to do it more through just, all right, this is why we're calling this play, this is why we're looking at the change, this is why we're teaching the red zone, and more just explaining, almost like coach training, when you have young coaches, and explaining the reasons why you do what you do. And I think that did help.
Next will be Brendan from Peopleton.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Hey, Brendan.
I had a follow-up question about the cross-training. You mentioned moving guys around and kind of seeing where they fit. Is it big for them to get the experience of playing different positions in case something goes down the road, or is it equally important for you as a coach to evaluate guys at multiple spots to see what they can do?
Well, yeah, it goes hand in hand. The foundation of it is to make sure you can get as deep as possible with the best players you can put on the field. As far as ability-wise, it's very similar. Of course, the play is different if you're playing left guard or right tackle. It could be like a different world, but the footwork, the hands, the striking, the vision, all that's pretty similar. It's more of making sure you're putting the best players on the field to be able to have success, and understanding that you got to put those guys in those situations so they can see it. So if he's only played left tackle the whole camp, and then you put him in a left guard, that'll be foreign to him. So you have to give them those reps if you're going to use them in those roles.
We'll go to Gene Williams from Warchat.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
How's it going, Gene?
Hey, I want to ask you about a couple of your players. A transfer, Devontae Love-Taylor. How quickly has he picked things up? How's he looking? And also, Devontae Lewis.
We're gonna find out a lot more about those guys. Here when we put these pads on. But as far as picking it up, he's done a phenomenal job. He's very smart. He's savvy. He has a kind of a charisma on the field that allows him to get stuff done, and I've enjoyed watching his mind pick it up. It'll be more interesting to see once we get the pads on and physicality and kind of applying it to playing, real football type competition drills and get a true evaluation. But they've done a nice job, and same as Dante Lucas, coming off the injury, and I think he's ready to go, fired up. He's been doing a good job mentally also.
Next will be Perry from Tomahawk Nation.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
What's up, Barry?
So
Now, we weren't allowed to do that, but what I did was we had fundamental focus, which I thought was beneficial, where you took one thing, whether it be jump sets, whether it be, flash sets, whether it be down blocks, and you really broke it down to the T or the finer point of it and gave examples, showed, NFL players doing it, and just showed many examples of the why. It really goes back to the why the fundamental is important. You can repetitively do a drill. I can take anybody out there and do a drill, but if they have to know why they're doing it and when to apply it. So it was able to teach them the why and apply it, because most of the time you get a young guy, you just do the drill, they just do what you tell them to do. I was able to teach them the why.
Go back to Kirk from the Democrat.
Got three guys probably have legitimate claims to the center spot kind of to start a campaign. Andrew, Bavion, and Maurice. Hey, what has each of those guys shown you, and how do you kind of divide it up so you've got that many guys you could probably all play that week?
Well, all three guys, we're still continue to evaluate. Just like anything else, we'll really tell a lot here coming up with the practices in the future. But the things I like about the guys, they're all pushing each other. They're very, very close in the race. The first thing is going to come back to accurate snaps. Who can get the ball back there accurately, which is much gun and under center stuff as we do. The snaps have to be accurate, and also who can process the offense and process the information more quickly. I think as we get into the offense, as we get more detailed into it, time will tell with who handles that the best, because the center position is important because, he's the one guy on the field that can talk to both sides.
Next will be Chris Nee from North People 7.
Coach praised Thomas Schrader. Just what has stood out about him since he got on campus?
Just his approach, how he took it upon himself to really study the information that was given to him. The strongest thing in the world is a made-up mind, and he has his mind made up where he's going to approach every day and attempt to get better, and he's really shown that through his action. And if he continues, of course, we hadn't put on the shoulder pad yet, so it sounds good right now, but, I've loved his approach and how he's attacked the information and how well he's doing. He's also a guy that's played multiple positions, so even as a young guy, that's hard, and he's able to process that information. That's been promising.
Next will be Pat Burnham from Nottingham.
Hey, Coach, hope everything's going well. Obviously, it was unusual off-season for you guys. Were you happy with the way the guys came back into the sport for camp? And we've seen some physical development changes with the guys during the spring, gaining weight or losing weight. Did you continue to see that as they reported back in the summer off camp? That anybody said
Yeah, it was, unprecedented, especially with O-linemen, and even myself. I like to eat a little bit more when I'm at home also. So we did have some guys that did a really good job, and what I'm really impressed is that when we all got back here and we got to work, I wasn't down on anybody. There was no negative like, oh, this guy did this bad or this. It was more of a let's get back into action and get back into football playing shape, which comes over time and repetition and experience. But guys that have really, that really have shown, took care of their body, we'll see. And I want to wait and see how the performance is to match that. But in the future, I will, drop some names of some guys I think has really done a good job once we kind of, see the results.
We'll go back to Ira.
Coach, Darius is a guy that, I don't know how much you guys were able to see of him earlier in the year, but he was recovering from injury.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been able to, I know Pat's not on yet, but have you got a sense for his athleticism, even in what you guys have been able to do so far?
Darius is very athletic. He's a guy that can, pick his feet up off the ground pretty quickly, change direction, running out. I saw that in, a couple of, not the mat drills, but the workouts where you get to see him running and changing direction and things like that. So I've been very impressed with his movements. It's just, building back up his strength, coming off shoulder surgery and things like that, but he's 100% ready to go. So I'm eager to see, because I even seen his athleticism displayed in these last two practices. He can move, run, things like that. It's just, really seeing if he can put the physical part to it. But as an athlete, I can believe he can be an elite athlete.